Oh, found footage, how I've missed you. It's been a few videos since I've sat down and watched something from one of my favorite genres of horror. So let's fix that by covering a movie I've been suggested more than a handful of times. And that is The Taking of Deborah Logan. I've seen this movie only once, so there's only a few things I remember about it, but I do remember it being good. So let's sit down, grab a snack or two, cuddle up with a significant other, or stuffed animal, I don't judge here, and let's see how this critically acclaimed 2014 horror flick stands up in the Big 26. Let's get into it. We start off with some text on the scene, giving us some context of what we're about to watch. The following film includes a partly edited medical documentary, outtakes, and surveillance footage from the scenes of the crime. We're 7 seconds in and we're already being told there was a crime. Wonder what that entails for the rest of the movie. Our events begin on October 12th of 2013. Medical student Maya Hugh and her documentary crew travel to Exuma, Virginia. Editor Greaves here. I was saying Maya instead of Mia for like the first couple minutes of this video, so please excuse my ignorance. I end up fixing it. Is that a real place? Nope, it is not. Although I think they may have based the name off Exmoor, Virginia, which is a real place. There we meet Alzheimer's patient Deborah Logan and her daughter Sarah, who we see awkwardly running up while smoking a cigarette. Now you may be like, Greaves, you're being paranoid, but there is something off with this family off rip. I can see it. I can feel it in my bones. Do you hear yourself? That's Maya, Glasses is named Gavin, and cameraman is Luis. Sarah and her mom have been having money troubles. And so the whole reason they're doing this is for grant money. If Maya and her team think it's the right fit for the documentary, the grant money is theirs. And they also will receive help with medical expenses as well. Sounds like a good deal, although we're watching a found footage horror movie. When do things ever go right? We then meet Miss Deborah Logan and an older gentleman by the name of Harris. Deborah on the surface when we first meet her seems fine, although moments later she tells the crew she may be having second thoughts, and they should find someone else for this. Lady, no offense, but we just drove all the way out in the woods to the middle of butt nowhere. You're doing this documentary. See, this is a nice big beautiful house, but they're behind on payments. For some reason they won't sell. I'm sure there's a lot of history here, so they kinda need this grant money. After Sarah breaks down crying, her mother hugs her, and I guess that was all the persuading she needed to agree to do the documentary. A week later they come back, and before they go inside, Maya tells the guys to be on their best behavior. Deborah is older and proper and isn't with the tomfoolery. And then Gavin proceeds to touch everything he sees in the house. Gavin, what the f? Moments later, the boys find their room and,
Guess you found your room.
Oh, this is us.
There's a blow-up mattress there.
a single mattress on the floor and a blow-up mattress, which mind you isn't even blown up yet. It's just deflated in the other corner of the room. This is just a little insane. I personally would have told him I'll be back tomorrow. I'm sleeping in a hotel tonight. What is this? What am I supposed to do with that? You couldn't even give me a box spring to go under it? What if I had a bad back? You do have a bad back. Besides the point. Gavin gives her an awkward thank you, and in fact, that sums up everything I've seen so far. Odd and awkward. I'll cherish it now because something tells me shit's about to get even weirder. We get a little backstory on Alzheimer's and how the disease develops and what it does to a person. Yeah, that's pleasant. Who took this footage? What family allowed you to take a video of their loved one in this type of state? They look like a fucking Silence from Doctor Who. During an interview with Sarah and Deborah downplays her condition, making it sound like it's not as bad, saying how she'll have senior moments. Yes, because almost burning down the kitchen is definitely a senior moment. That's not even a joke. I feel like a senior would 100% do that without the Alzheimer's. Deborah is still in the early stages of the disease, so it will only get worse from here. Deborah lost her husband young, so she was forced to raise Sarah by herself. She leveraged the house, but then went on to start a very successful switchboard answering service. Basically, operators that went through the process of managing, screening, and routing incoming telephone calls for organizations. We go day by day with Deborah, really seeing how the disease can affect someone. Also, Gavin is doing a terrible job pretending he likes whatever this is. You really see how this is affecting Deborah and the people in her life. She's doing everything she can to hold off a disease that has no cure. It's depressing. And hilarious. Yeah, I mean, wait, what? I call it deprarious. You have issues. Luis is filming Deborah gardening because that'll serve for entertaining television. She then pulls out a snake. What the hell? Is that a garter snake? A big one too. He then gets in trouble by Maya because he's supposed to be working on an edit for the documentary. And all of a sudden Deborah is right behind him saying how she's hungry. Breaking out the teleportation early, are we? There's a billion other red flags, but I'll be nice and count this as the first one. They both seem a little weirded out, which Luis makes sense because how did I just see you over there and now you're over here? But Maya, you just got over here, so why do you seem so puzzled? All she asked was who's ready for lunch. Unless it's 9 in the morning, then I'd be a little more confused. Although who says you can't eat lunch for breakfast? Or breakfast for dinner? All these rules. What time does a stomach open anyway? I'm sure this is why you subscribe, to hear my takes on appropriate times for food intake. We got cameras around the house, people. Luis is setting up another one and Deborah is walking around creepily in the background, even at one point staring directly at the camera. She walks away into a doorway behind Luis, slamming it shut and getting his attention. He goes to look. I'm saving you the time of asking because we already know he does. And it's pitch black in here. Red flag number 2, which immediately gets followed up by number 3, but let's pace ourselves. Maya is taking Sarah's blood pressure, which I'm guessing is absurdly high because she tells her that she may be stressing too much. We then hear a loud noise in the kitchen and Deborah is holding a knife at Gavin, claiming he took her garden spade, which I had to listen very closely for because everyone's just yelling and screaming over one another. It's giving me wreck flashbacks. Also, Gavin, get the hell off the counter. It's an elderly woman, not a guard dog. Also, Deborah, calm down. It's the dead of the night. You plan on gardening right now? She's acting like that spade is a determining factor of life and death right now. Gavin is disturbed and pissed. Pissed-turbed? Nah, that's gross. Yeah, no, that's... Yeah, that was weird. Yeah. Yeah, cut that out. Sarah heads back downstairs to check on Deborah. Luis goes up to the attic to see if he can find anything, and Maya ends up finding the spade in the freezer, because that's definitely where gardening tools belong. They find Deborah facing the window, not really moving, and...
Shit.
Go get help.
Oh my god, someone...
That was a weird edit. Also kinda bad. Still grotesque because we just watched an old woman tear a piece of her skin off like it was a band-aid or something. They all freak out and call an ambulance. Well, by freak out, I mean Maya freaks out. Her reaction was the only appropriate one. We get a "oh my god" from Luis and a
"go get help"
from Sarah, which yeah, is a good idea, but I feel like these reactions should be flipped around. The way Maya reacted is the way Sarah should have reacted. That is her mom. If my mom was tearing pieces of her skin off, I'd 100% be yelling and crying and may possibly pass out. We cut to Dr. Nazir talking to Sarah, and it seems the disease has spread. Deborah's gone from early stages to the middle stage. Sarah is taken aback, but the doctor says she's going to do everything she can to help. Deborah gets released from the hospital, which I feel like is a little soon. She was just peeling skin from her neck. But hey, I'm not a medical professional. She also apologizes to Gavin, not really remembering the events that took place. We see footage of Deborah painting, although there's a mysterious shadow figure in one of the paintings. I wonder what that's about. Then we see Deborah talking to herself. Luis, this seems like an invasion of privacy, don't you think? We're just casually watching a woman deteriorate right before our eyes. She then notices Luis and stares directly at him through the mirror. Oh, now he wants to leave. Nah, Luis, you the one that wanted to peek in. Don't duck off now. We then get some drinking and trauma bonding. Sarah tells the story of how she first kissed a girl and how she started to think she may not like boys. Her mom was actually the one who found her doing it and was really mad about it. You could tell Deborah may still think this is a phase or something. Throughout the movie, she's always encouraging Sarah to dress more feminine. They all cheers to their fucked up childhoods, even though Sarah was the only one who told a story about her fucked up childhood. Whatever. We cut back to the house. While Sarah and Luis are talking, they hear a strange noise. Sarah goes upstairs to check on Deborah, but it seems like she's already down here. I hate every bit of that. Luis calls after her, but she doesn't answer. He finds Deborah once again Blair Witching it. What is that in her hand? Is that a hammer? Please tell me she's not holding a hammer. Yep, that's a hammer. All of a sudden, Sarah appears out of nowhere. She says her mom has been claiming there's an intruder of some sorts in the yard. She then starts nailing down the window. Okay, number one, how the hell did Sarah get into that room without making any noise? Does teleportation run in the family? Number two, this lady was just tearing pieces of her skin off. Why do we trust her with a nail and a hammer? Sarah, you're her caretaker. Take care. Later that night, while Deborah is sleeping, she frantically awakens from her slumber. She gets out of her bed and now she's missing. One of the guys finds the window she nailed down wide open, and Sarah finds a bloody robe on the ground. They find Deborah outside stabbing at the ground with her gardening spade. Sarah goes to grab her as she's flailing around, and she gets her to calm down, kinda. But that's not funny. That's not funny. I was not laughing. I was. Why the fuck is she making that noise? James, will you please? Deborah's nails are messed up. Maya is helping to wash the blood off and fix her up. Although Deborah is staring at her like this. I can only imagine what it's like to work in an elderly home where you have lots of old people that act just like this. Staring at you like you just offended their entire bloodline while you're trying to give them a bath or something. Gavin had downloaded some of the footage they got before Deborah went outside to participate in the gardening Olympics, and we see her in the kitchen as if she's sleepwalking or something. Then all of a sudden she pops onto the kitchen counter. I knew she could teleport. Now we just gotta catch Sarah on camera doing it so we can see if this shit is genetic or not. No, but seriously, that is a little insane. Maya tries to give a logical explanation for such a thing, but those don't usually fly in these type of movies, especially when the explanation is dumb.
She must have climbed a chair or something, right? Like she grabbed a chair and just...
A fucking chair?
Yeah, even the guys are like, you sound stupid, Maya. There's no cut in the footage. It's all a continuous shot. And they for some reason show this to Sarah? Like, yeah, that's her daughter, but I'm sure if y'all can't explain it, she wouldn't be able to either. Like, dog, I just thought my mom had Alzheimer's, not fucking superpowers. Sarah is on the phone with someone, and she's very concerned about the whole thing. Doctor says they're gonna up the dosage on the medications that she's taking. Harris suggests they take a break on filming and give Deborah a chance to rest, which I would agree with if her episodes didn't happen while she was resting. Everyone was asleep. No one started filming until she ran off into the night. Deborah isn't too concerned about the stuff Sarah is telling her. She waves it off like it's just another Tuesday. Actually, I don't know if it's Tuesday. In fact, I don't know what day of the week this is. We cut to them setting up for an interview with Deborah.
How are you feeling?
Well, I was feeling peculiar, but not now. Now I feel, right as rain.
You saying you feel right as rain doesn't feel right as rain. But in fact, that's the first and last time I've ever used that phrase in my life. Then they do something I think is extremely stupid. Show Deborah the footage of her late night shenanigans. Why? Sarah, I understand, kinda. That's her daughter. But I don't think that Deborah should be seeing this. It low-key turns into an interrogation/intervention. Does she really need to know all this disturbing information about herself? Soon after this, Deborah begins to break down crying. Great job, guys. You made an elderly woman cry. Let's just jump her while we're at it. She's already down. She then launches at the crew, but I think specifically Gavin. I don't know. It looks like they're trying to get her off someone. I just assumed it was him. We cut to the hospital and they're doing various procedures on Deborah to see what the heck is going on. The symptoms she's starting to show aren't typically associated with Alzheimer's. There also seems to be an unknown infection spreading on Deborah's back, and they can't seem to explain what's causing it. We cut to Deborah playing a memory game and she starts to pick at her skin, and then once again it's tearing off. I'm sorry, that is coming off way too easily. That's not normal. Well, obviously, but her skin shouldn't be that loose to the point where it's just coming off. They stop her as she begins to growl like a dog, and now we're just watching Deb smile creepily at the camera while playing the piano? Why she gotta be staring into to my soul while she's doing this. Also, this scene lasts way too long for me. We cut back to the crew pulling up to the house and we're on day 41? What? You know, earlier Mia said they wanted to make sure it's the right fit, you know, so they can move forward with the documentary. Give the grant money, pay for Deborah's medical expenses, yada yada. But once we get to skin being torn off, teleportation, being attacked and accused for stealing something I didn't steal, that's when I probably would have left. Fun fact, I had an experience just like that. Used to go over to this lady's house in my neighborhood and help her clean her house up. She had some issues, but she was living by herself, so it was the least I could do. Then all of a sudden she comes to our door saying I stole multiple things from her. Mind you, I hadn't been to that house in years. Sometimes you get that gut feeling and you know to keep your distance. I guess everyone in this car is gutless or something. They find the front door to the house wide open, and Harris and Sarah are both upstairs wrestling with Deborah, because she's apparently eating things that aren't edible. They get whatever it is out of her mouth, and the crew heads out of the room. They're moving boxes around and they find that snake from earlier. Guess Deborah decided to keep it as a pet. Later that night, Gavin decides to put a cross onto the window that Deb was nailing down earlier. Seems like he's starting to suspect something other than Alzheimer's is affecting this woman. Before this though, he finds some more of Deborah's paintings, and that dark shadowy figure is in every single one of them, and it seems like he's getting closer and closer. I wonder if we'll find out who he is. Then Gavin has the nerve to say,
Lady's got issues.
yeah, no shit, Sherlock. She's going through a lot of stuff. Cut her some slack. Anyway, he goes to put the cross on the window, but Deborah has already instant transmission her way into the room. She says,
letting all my heat out.
that register is a little too low for you, Deb. Are you under the weather? The window slides up very suddenly and Gavin leaves. He shows the footage to Mia and she's like, I don't know, maybe it was a draft? A draft? This is a sliding window. Unless the wind grew hands and slid the window up by itself, I don't think that's physically possible. Gavin decides he wants her to double his rate or he's leaving. Mia reluctantly agrees and they move on. Also, Louise says if Gavin gets it, so does he. Greedy asses. What would you do for $1? What would you do for a Klondike bar? Nothing. Those are overrated. Sarah tucks Deborah into bed. Louise, come on, stop filming her. The woman is trying to sleep. I promise, if she moves, it'll be why you're not looking. It's 2:30 in the AM and Deborah is once again playing Night Owl. Literally, because owls don't wear clothes. And neither is Deborah. This was like a small trend in horror movies for some reason. The Visit did it. This movie does it. It Chapter 2 did it. That equals to 3 different instances of me seeing naked old woman ass on my screen. Come on, dude. Some of us are eating. All right, my bad. Wait, you order food without me? It's like the saying goes, if I had $1 for every time I saw an elderly woman in the nude in a horror movie, I'd have $3. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened 3 times. Exactly. Everyone in the house is awoken by a loud ringing. It sounds like an old telephone, but it's like the entire house is ringing. This turns out to be Deborah's old switchboard machine. Sarah goes to check on Deborah, but we already know she's not in her room because she went upstairs in her birthday suit. They check one of the closets first, and is it me or does Sarah take an astronomically long time to open this closet door? I was like, is this a part of the script? Should we call cut? I feel like the result was not worth the build up. They find her booty butt naked at her switchboard. She begins to make noises that an elderly woman should never know how to make, and then she electrocutes herself. They call her doctor, which I feel like she should have been taken to the hospital, but whatever. Deborah is on her bed hyperventilating. She sounds like me during my worst asthma attack. Sarah is able to calm her down and they put her back to sleep. Her doctor says everything looks good as far as her brain and motor functions go. The doctor ends up giving Mia a sedative just in case Deborah needs to be restrained in the future. They head back upstairs to the switchboard machine and Sarah recalls that Deb was dialing the numbers 337 over and over again. Her doctor suggests they bring it up to Deb when she wakes up to see if it has any significance to her, or if she's trying to remember something. The next morning, Gavin has made a discovery. He pulled some audio from the camera on the switchboard last night, just to see if he can decipher those noises that Deborah was making. And while it sounded like gibberish to them, it's actually French, which according to Sarah, she doesn't know. Also, Gavin is overly aggressive in this scene, but he's freaked out, so fair. Deb is saying stuff like the eternal serpent will free you, child. Be my fifth. I will wash you in the river. Your blood will feed the river. I feel like this is some shit that Tully would whisper into his victims' ears. We cut to Sarah and Harris talking outside, and Harris is over this whole documentary stuff. In his head, he believes they're using Deborah's trauma for entertainment and exploiting her situation. Then he tells Sarah to get rid of them, or he will. That sounds like a threat? Are you threatening us, Harris? Cause it's working actually. I've been wanting to leave since night 1. Once I found out we were sleeping on fucking paper mache. Sarah tells him no, they're staying and they need the money. Harris ignores her though and walks off. We then see the guys moving a dresser out of the way to reveal another attic. Louise, take it away.
Damn, how many attics you people got?
Honestly, I mean, at this point, does this even count as an attic? Wouldn't this be like a glorified storage room? They're looking for Deborah's switchboard records. They find them, and the good thing is that Deborah kept an index of all the customers she had worked with. 337 just happens to be one of the only pages missing, though, which Sarah finds strange because her mom is very organized and well kept. Everything should be accounted for. They seem to have hit a wall until Louise asks Sarah if they have any charcoal. Deborah has some in her art room, so she grabs some and also grabs some notebook paper. Louise does a little trick by drawing over the missing page with the charcoal, and they discover 337 and the client's name, Dehardine. Unray Dehardine, a man who's been missing for 30 years and was suspected of murdering 4 young girls. They were all found with serpent carvings on their foreheads. Parts of their bodies were eaten, and all 4 girls had rattlesnake venom in their blood. Now I really do hope no one is eating while watching this. Dehardine was a respected pediatrician, and well known. A month after his disappearance, the police got a tip from a paperboy, telling them to check out his house. He smelled a strange odor coming from the place, and they found some nasty stuff in there. According to this guy, these murders were reenacting a Monacan blood ritual, the symbol of the snake consuming itself on the girls' foreheads, and the fact that they all had just had their first period, and the blood blood from that would be offered to the demon for immortality. Well, this took a turn. They're dumping a lot of lore on me right now. I'm trying to keep up. This guy Desjardins was dying. He had Lou Gehrig's disease, or medically known as ALS. Therefore, he had plenty of motive to sacrifice 5 young girls to achieve this so-called immortality. Thing is, there was only 4 victims. And if I remember correctly, back when they had translated Deborah's French, she kept saying over and over, "Be my 5th." I think that may be more than a coincidence, but after a huge manhunt, Desjardins was never found. They think he either fled the country or he killed himself. The next day, they decide to ask Deb about Desjardins. Deb does say the name sounds familiar, but she doesn't remember where she knows it from. Sarah says she was just wondering if he was a client of hers or something, and the fact that he disappeared 30 years ago. But Deborah corrects her, saying he's not dead, he was murdered. Wait a minute. How do you know that? Why do you know that? Something tells me we're about to find out. Nope. All of a sudden, Deborah gets up as if she's feeling sick. She runs to the bathroom, Sarah following close behind. We cut to Mia knocking on the bathroom door, and we can hear Deborah inside making some gnarly noises. Yeah, never say the word gnarly again. Are you a surfer from the 90s? Or cat's eye? Sarah comes out of the bathroom instructing the crew to stay with her, and at first I thought she had thrown up some type of black liquid, but no, this is dirt, with worms also in said dirt. That's not sanitary, and I've lost my appetite. We cut to Deb in the hospital. Love how they took her to the hospital for this, but not her electrocuting herself butt naked. One of the doctors there says that a lot of her symptoms could be a result of split personality disorder. Great, so now I can't remember shit, and I'm a different person. At this point, I'm about to pull the plug on myself.
She puked fucking earthworms.
Your mother's a gardener, right? Your mom, you said she tried to swallow some objects before.
This doctor is highly insensitive, but also kind of doing his job. I remember hearing medical professionals aren't meant to show much emotion when dealing with patients, as to ensure they make unbiased, objective medical decisions. But I'm not a doctor, so as a family member, I will be pissed. Especially if it's my mother. So Sarah angrily walking off is completely understandable. Also, Harris breaks into the hospital room to check on Deborah. He gets restrained and escorted out of the room. We then cut to Louise putting cameras in Deborah's hospital room? This is completely inappropriate, and I think illegal? Let the woman rest. And then you have the nerve to get multiple angles in here too? These people have no shame. Back at the house, Sarah is on the phone with Harris, telling him that Deborah must have known Desjardins and that he had to be one of her clients. Sarah tells him about her speaking French and that she may be obsessed with the man. Harris doesn't want to hear any of it and he hangs up. Mia theorizes that he may be protecting himself instead of Deb. During the investigation on Desjardins, he was brought in for questioning twice. Mia theorizes that he may have killed Desjardins. Deborah, being one of his closest friends, finds out, or he may have just told her. She kept it a secret all these years, but then she develops Alzheimer's. And then the dark secret starts to resurface. Which is a good theory, but Gavin and Louise make her sound like a nut job.
Oh, come on. It says he's missing. It doesn't say anything about him being dead.
And? What does that have to do with anything, Gavin? Fuck whatever it says. Deborah obviously knew this guy. There's an entire page of him missing from her client index. And she's one of the only people that has mentioned something about his whereabouts in the 30 years he's been missing. I think someone may have gotten a hold of him when they found out what he did to those girls. Allegedly. Sarah wants them to change the subject and says they should order dinner. And then they all hear a loud bang outside. After further investigation, we find out it's a gun. Harris's gun. He's outside shooting out the windows of the crew's van. Harris, what the fuck? Although on the bright side, at least he's not shooting them. And he did tell Sarah if she didn't get rid of them, he would. I think in his head, if this stupid documentary crew hadn't showed up, then his friend would be just fine. Which isn't completely insane, because it does seem like Deb's condition has only gotten worse since they started filming. The police show up and we find out that Harris has had a couple of drinks tonight. Well, a few more than a couple. You don't get a person shooting out someone's windows with a rifle off a margarita. Well, at least I hope not. The cop outside actually turns out to be the sheriff. She puts Harris over her shoulder and takes him back to the police car. Then comes inside and tells them they're more than happy to press charges. Gavin's with it and Mia tells him no. The sheriff heads outside and she has some sort of relationship with Sarah. I don't know if it's romantic or not, but they do seem a little flirty. The next morning, Gavin straight up leaves. He leaves? Yep, for once we don't get a found footage flick that has a scene where a character is about to leave and they get gaslit into staying. Gavin actually gets into the van with his shot out windows and leaves. You know, I didn't really care for his character, but good on him. I most likely would have done the same thing. Although I personally would have left a lot sooner, but at least he got there eventually. Also, this being his car horn actually got a laugh out of me.
Gavin, I'm sick. Hey!
See you later, buddy.
So Gavin's gone and we're now on day 47. Luis and Mia head back to the hospital to check on Deborah, but she's gone. And so is a child. Oh, that's a weird coincidence. Oh my god, Deborah kidnapped a little girl. Took you a minute, but better late than never. The taking of Deborah Logan? More like Deborah does the taking, am I right? But no, this is very bad. They find her and the little girl like this, which is unsettling, but more surprising is that Dr. Nazir is able to take the little girl back. I was half expecting Deb to just launch at her or something, or maybe take off running, but no, she's able to get the kid back. Then Deb turns around and looks at them like this. Why are you mad? You can't go around taking children that aren't yours, Deb. That's like 85% illegal. That's 100% illegal. I was never good at math. Deb is wilding out in her hospital bed, screaming and flailing around, making weird cat noises. They finally are able to subdue her, and we cut to Sarah talking to a priest, who turns out to be no help at all. Sarah had mentioned a possible exorcism to him, which we're now starting to see that Sarah may have the impression that whatever is going on with her mother may have nothing to do with medical complications. The priest is not with it though and denies her request, and just tells her to accept reality. Thanks, man. How about I tell you that same thing when your mom is growling at the air in a hospital bed? See how you feel about it. We cut to Harris, who's checking on Deborah in the hospital, and Mia asks Sarah, what's Harris doing here? Mia, are you dumb? You don't seem dumb. Why are you asking dumb questions? Yeah, I get he shot y'all's windows out or whatever, but he's still Deborah's oldest and closest friend. It's safe to assume he would visit her in the hospital. Just because you might suspect of a murder doesn't mean anything. And even if he did kill the guy, Desjardins was a child killer. Allegedly. 4 little girls are dead. If anything, Harris was doing y'all a favor. So Mia gets into contact with the professor from the documentary they watched earlier. This guy, Dr. Ernst Schaefer, and he's trying to bring logic into this situation. Dude, we're in a found footage horror movie about a possible demonic possession. Logic? Throw it out the window. His theory is that Deborah has become so obsessed with Desjardins to the point where she thinks she is Desjardins, but Sarah thinks there's more to it than that. So Schaefer buys into the idea, although hypothetically, a weak mind is perfect for a vengeful entity to take over and use that person as a vessel. It is possible that once Deborah started to develop Alzheimer's, it was the perfect opportunity for Desjardins to hypothetically take over her body. Younger people and much older people are the most vulnerable to such a thing. Schaefer tells them the story about a mother who held her baby's deceased body for over a month because of how much grief she felt. She ended up falling into insanity. She began to act like her son, speak as if she was her son. She pretty much became him. It took for a witch doctor to come and burn her son's body for this all to stop. Purification by fire, as Schaefer says. So what, you're telling me I need to light my mom on fire? I'm not doing that. No sane person would do that. I mean, yeah, she'd be free, but she'd also be dead. I kinda don't want my mom to be dead. I was planning on eventually losing her to the Alzheimer's, not a vengeful spirit taking over her body. Or they probably mean just light Desjardins' body on fire. That would actually make more sense. Now I feel foolish. And if we suspect that Harris was the one that killed Desjardins, then why didn't he just take over his body? Something else is going on here, gang, and I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. Speaking of Harris, he's back in Deborah's room and he starts to take her restraints off. They embrace each other and then he says we don't have to do this, as he grabs a pillow and puts it over her face and begins to suffocate her. Excuse me? Okay, let's rewind a little bit. By using context clues, I think Deborah is fully aware that something is going on in her body that makes her do things she doesn't want to do. And to put her out of her own misery, she tells Harris to do it for her. He's heartbroken by the fact, I mean, you can tell he really loves and cares about Deb, but he also loves her enough to respect her wishes, so he agrees to kill her. Which is sad in a beautiful sort of way. However, that's not what happens. Yes, he does grab a pillow and begins to suffocate her. However, the bed starts to shake. In fact, the entire room starts shaking, as the TV in the corner comes off its hinges and flies full force towards Harris, and then it cuts. And unless Harris has eyes in the back of his head or spidey senses, I'm pretty sure he didn't see that TV coming at him. So Harris is dead? Question mark? Let's find out, shall we? Okay, so as much as I do like this movie, the final act does feel a little rushed. So I'm gonna rapid fire a little bit, because everything that happens is hectic and all over the place. Harris is alive, although not for long, but he's able to tell Sarah that she was gonna be Desjardins' 5th victim. In order to save her daughter's life, Deborah kills Desjardins with her garden spade and buries his body near the statue in the backyard. With that information, Sarah goes out there and digs it up, along with Mia and Luis's help. They find the spade, but not the body. That is in the house in a 3rd attic. How many attics do you need? Also, back up a little bit. Sarah was already pulled away and was at a decent distance while Harris was still talking. And he was talking very low, might I add, and also coughing up a lung. How did she hear him say this? Anyway, they find Desjardins' remains in the attic. They proceed to go downstairs to the fireplace and light this bag on fire, as that, what Schaefer said, breaks the curse. Also, a snake came slithering out of the bag, but no time to process that because the fireplace damn near explodes, knocking everyone in the room to the ground. Sarah grabs the bag of remains, and in the midst of this, they realize they can't just burn the body anywhere. I also want to mention shaky cam. Some of this shit sounds improvised, maybe to add realism, I don't know. It's a little overwhelming, just saying. Desjardins also makes an appearance, I think. They flash to someone in the house, but it goes by so fast you can barely see who it is. I'm pretty sure that's him. The hospital is calling Sarah, and Deborah has broken out of her restraints and is once again taking the little girl. Kara is her name. The father is freaking the hell out, understandably so, that's his daughter. They show Deborah getting out of her restraints, and her skin is just peeling off with ease. It's disgusting. They mention that a security guard is being treated downstairs, and when Sarah asks for what, Dr. Nazir says snake venom. We got fucking Orochimaru on the loose. Yeah, and Deborah just gave his ass the curse mark. We cut to see footage of her and Kara at the entrance to the hospital, and as the security guard approaches her, she bites him on the neck and skedaddles. Sarah thinks Deb is taking Kara to Monica Mill, where Desjardins was going to take Sarah to be his 5th victim, as Harris, R.I.P., mentioned earlier. They head up there with the sheriff and a couple other police officers as well. They do find Deborah and Kara, who are both holding hands facing the opposite directions. Kara is repeating something over and over again, along the lines of, "Don't hurt him, he's a nice man, he's gonna watch over me and take care of me," or something like that. Sheriff is in the process of putting the cuffs on Deb when she spits some sort of acid onto the 2 police officers. Mia tells Luis he'll have to take them back down the hill, which he reluctantly agrees to, and Mia moves forward with Sarah and the sheriff. Which, a couple things. Sarah being here kinda makes sense. I mean, she is a civilian, but she's also Deborah's daughter. However, the sheriff being so cool with these random students filming for their thesis, which by the way went out the fucking window not even 20 minutes into the movie, because this shit hasn't been about Alzheimer's for a good while now. Her being so cool with them coming up there with him is a little strange. In fact, it's a lot of strange, and highly irresponsible. They should not be here. Another thing is, I don't have an emotional connection to anybody on this screen. Maybe Sarah, but Gavin was a dickhead. The shallow end of the pool has more depth than Mia's entire character, and Luis is just a token black guy who makes quirky remarks about white people shit and how many addicts were in the house. I barely know the sheriff, and she ends up dying. Yeah, she moves forward to scope the scene out without them, and they find her body on the ground with a snake near it. They also end up finding Deborah, who has a snake of her own and is waving it around Kara while also whispering some stuff we can't make out. Sarah tries to get up close to her to subdue her, but Deb turns around grave encounter style and tries to attack Mia. Deb and Kara both disappear again, and this time Sarah pulls out the heat. They find them again, however. So Deborah's a snake now? You guys' reaction is far too subdued, cause what the fuck are we looking at? This elderly woman is actively consuming a human child right before our eyes. None of this is normal. Even less normal, after Sarah shoots her gun in the air, she still has the nerve to be calling her mom. Which, sorry Sarah, that ain't your mama no more. Mother's jaws aren't supposed to do that. This is a fucking predator. If a xenomorph comes out, I think we've crossed over into a different movie. After some struggle, Sarah is able to get the syringe into Deborah's neck, and then she lights the remains on fire again. But unlike last time, it actually works. Weird noises can be heard and ghastly faces on the rocks and stuff. Sarah throws the on fire remains into a hole and it explodes. Deborah cries out for Sarah, who comforts her. Mia is still filming, by the way, and then it cuts to black. We then cut to news footage. They were able to get everyone out, and Deborah and Kara are both transported back to the hospital. Later on, Deb is found medically unfit to stand in trial. Her condition has only gotten worse since the kidnapping months ago. She can't even walk on her own or communicate on any level. Also, where is Sarah? She was by her mom's side this entire time, yet the only people we see are Dr. Nazir, a couple of police officers, and an attorney. I don't see Mia or Luis or anybody. That's terribly sad. On to better news, little Kara is in full remission from her leukemia. People are calling it a miracle of some sorts. We see her celebrating with her family, very cute, good for Kara, is what I would be saying if this was an actual happy ending. Moments later, Kara is being interviewed by the news, and when asked what she plans to do now that she's in remission and is able to live her life, she says she has a plan. When the reporter asks her what it is, she says it's a secret, and we see her look at the camera like this. Yep, if you couldn't guess it, it's implied that Deardine was able to transfer himself into little Kara's body, and plans to act on whatever plan he has later down the road. The ritual he was doing earlier was somehow a success, and it rapidly accelerated Deborah's condition, hence why she only got worse after everything went down. So this happy ending isn't so happy after all. Although for a found footage movie, we don't get too many deaths. Really only Harris and the sheriff. I'm pretty sure those two police officers that got injured earlier ended up living, and Harris dies off screen, and the only on-screen death we see is the sheriff's, and still they only found her after she was already killed. Sarah and everyone in the documentary team are all still alive. And good on Gavin for getting the fuck out of Dodge while he did. I'm sure he gave Luis and Mia the biggest I told you so in history. And was this footage confiscated? I doubt Mia turned this in, right? If they had showed this to the public, they'd be able to see what really happened that night. And even then, that's not a guarantee that people would believe them. She must have failed this class. Also, a little tidbit before they entered into the cave to follow after the sheriff. Mia admits to lying to Deborah and Sarah about her grandfather having Alzheimer's. She had mentioned it in the beginning of the movie, so we don't even really know what she was doing this documentary for to begin with. Like, yeah, it was to spread awareness about the disease that is Alzheimer's, but like most of this movie wasn't even about that. All in all, this was a good watch. Even though I felt things got a little rushed towards the end, it was still some good scares. I wish there was a happier ending for Deb though. I mean, think about it. She committed a murder to save her daughter's life, and the man just happened to be a child murderer, and that same murderer came back years later to take over her body against her will, while she's already battling Alzheimer's. We go through all of that, the chase, the burning of the body, the everything, just for her to be by herself and physically unresponsive. And Deardine ends up getting what he wanted, and we don't even see what happens to the rest of the characters we've been following for this entire film. Even then, with all of that, I still had a good time with this movie. I honestly usually don't hate any of the movies I watch on this channel. The gallows. Besides that one. Also, I plan on doing part 2 this month, so be on the lookout for that. But I'm a pretty easy guy to entertain, but I'm also going to call out movies on their bullshit at the same time. A lot of the panic scenes, the dialogue, some of the scares could have been better. In fact, dialogue has been my biggest enemy when it comes to these movies. Even the critically acclaimed ones like this one, Sinister, etc. doesn't stop me personally from having a good time, but just something to point out. Have you seen The Taking of Deborah Logan? If so, let me know down in the comments below. Also, I'm curious, what's your favorite found footage movie? If you haven't, give it a watch. At face value, it's a nice scary time. Think about it a little too deep on some things and the cracks start to show. Shout out to Lula LaFleur, hopefully I pronounced that right, for being the latest member of the channel. There will be members only videos once a month from now on, and you get my videos a day early before everyone else. You also get your own custom emojis, which I'll be adding new ones, and possibly redoing the old ones. And all new members get shoutouts in future videos. I'll stress it's not required, hitting the sub button is more than enough. But if you do decide to join, I really appreciate it. Speaking of which, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. My name is Greaves, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Here's a hint, it has something to do with a live stream. Or should I say dead stream? Alright, peace.